Thank you. Thanks, Steve Moore. I appreciate you. And let's see here. Good evening, everyone. Good to see y'all. It's really good to be here. Thanks again. Steve, I heard that you are going to be paying for Mexican food afterwards, so that's pretty cool. That'd be great. Wow. Thank you. Nice. I'm so happy to be at this meeting. Steve's been telling me to come out to this meeting for a long time now. I just said that. Yeah, I said it.
Not everything deserves a response.
So, yeah, and also I just want to say, man, that guy has a great mustache. You need to talk to my son. He's growing his mustache. And so I was like, man, that's really cool. I'm really glad to be here. My name is Vanessa, and I'm an alcoholic, and I'm from Raleigh. My sobriety date is July 12th of 2016. I do have a home group. It is There Is a Solution, and we meet Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. in Holly Springs. And if you want to speak to me afterwards, I can give you the address. And you should totally come out and see us. It's a great group. And I just really appreciate groups that are so welcoming, like your all's group. You guys have this great welcoming spirit. There Is a Solution is also like that, and it's just a really good example of the change that we have here in sobriety and in AA. So I do have a sponsor, and I have sponsored, but I'm not sponsoring anybody. But I'm definitely willing to sponsor and eager to sponsor women, and just super grateful to be sober today and for sobriety and for Alcoholics Anonymous, because it really has given me a second chance in life and my life back. So I remember reading the big book for the first time, and really I finally remember having a white light experience, knowing that I was an alcoholic in a sense, but it is because of you all that showed me that there was real freedom through experience. It wasn't just that big book, it was really you all who, I finally, because I didn't get sober in 2013, I got sober in 2016, and I saw everybody growing, and I wasn't able to because I was drinking under the table, smoking weed under the table, taking pills under the table, and things like that. Wanted to be sober, but couldn't really get sober, and it always led me back out to alcohol. So, it's an honor to be up here. I never thought I could ever be up here because, guys, I really struggled with alcoholism. And just a little bit about my childhood. I had a fine childhood. I like to say that I come from two different worlds. I primarily grew up with my mom, who was a Marine, and I was born in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and pretty much an only child, so pretty selfish. And I would visit my dad every other holiday and 2 weeks to a month out of the summer, which is two different worlds. And, a young girl growing up, I moved around a lot, and always felt always felt pressure, and never like I could fit in. I felt like I always had to lie about how I was really feeling, and just didn't know how to function in life. Like, I didn't know how to feel normal, and I always saw other people and was like, oh my gosh, they have a normal family life. Why is my life so crazy? And didn't really understand, now I realize that it's a perception thing. Anyway, so I couldn't wait to take a drink. And I remember starting to drink at about 8th grade. It was the normal thing to do. I come from an interesting family and an interesting childhood. I will say that my mom's side of the family it still is normal thing to do, which is to drink and be merry, get all crazy. But they still drink, and and they know that I'm sober today and everything. My dad's side of the family, on the other hand, they do not drink. Well, they do. They might have very little. It's not really a big deal to them. My dad is actually sober, has been since like '89, and so going over there, alcohol was not, that was just like a no-no. We don't drink, they would say. We don't drink alcohol, Vanessa, they would tell me. And there was kind of like a danger aspect to the word, and then which made me like have an excitement about drinking. So being young and insecure and no coping skills and just kind of free range child, I remember when I took that first drink, I felt a lot better. And it was when I was in a friend's basement, and we were in his dad's liquor cabinet, a bunch of us, that I did this weird thing where I took a shot of liquor and said that didn't do anything to me, and took another shot of liquor and that didn't do anything to me. I took about 7 shots of liquor and then I was knocked out. And was in the bathroom, hugging the toilet, throwing up, and people holding my hair and all that stuff, and I kind of just ruined that night. And I remember my friends that even they would drink too. I just drank a little bit differently. They were like, "Man, Vanessa, you already passed out? Like, come on, you're missing all the fun." The fun to me was drinking and numbing my feelings, especially in high school. I was just always looking for a way out, running from my problems, wanted to, experiment with all these different things. And I had a lust for life, though, from a young age. And I always tried to be a good person and be a good friend and, and things like that. But, man, alcohol and drugs really took me down the moment I started using them. So I just was taught from a young age to run away from all my problems. I really barely passed high school. So anyway, I actually moved to my dad's house in North Carolina because we lived in Vegas back then. I moved to my dad's and I was able to graduate, and they kind of straightened me out because they don't drink, And of course, I got caught with pot and had a hard time with relationships with them. I was having a terrible time at relationships my whole life, So, anyway, that graduating high school was a good thing. It taught me that I could do it. So, shortly after that, though, I ran away from my family, really, because I ended up getting pregnant with my son, my 14-year-old now. His name's Alex, and my family, they were just trying to help me, but it was out of wedlock, and it was really hard. Looking back on that, that was just a hard thing to go through, because they wanted the best for me, and having a child, your life's over. It's not about you anymore. And I wanted it to be about me because I was ready to live life to the fullest, and I didn't know how to do that. And I used alcohol to cope, and I used alcohol to have fun, and I used alcohol to just exist. And it got to a point where I just existed to exist, and was very unhappy from the get-go. So then I started drinking and getting very angry. And I basically got to the point of blacking out, and I was about 21, 22 when that happened. Chris's dad at that time left me, and I would have left me too. I was had some mental health issues, and just went off the deep end. But alcohol was not a problem then, right? Like, I wasn't gonna, that was my solution. And I was, how is it that people are able to live responsibly and not want to, take that drink? And I, had a child, and then this guy left me, and it devastated me, and I went into a really dark, dark place at a very young age, and with nobody, because, I'd left my family. They didn't talk to me. I ran away from them. They'd call me. I wouldn't answer. I wouldn't return calls. At this point, I started my journey into institutions, hospitals, and jail. So it kind of just progressed. That's what alcoholism does, and that's what it did for me. And I look back on it and I see that progression. It's very dark because it stops working, and then I'm left with myself. And so I caused a lot of damage during those years. I going to jail that one time. Chris had to bail me out of jail, and that was all of the Christmas money. And we lived in this little shack off of Highway 50, and I tried. I was like, I know I can make a good life for me and my family at that time, and I ruined it. So that knocks me back, and I coped with alcohol. So, alcohol was my solution then, and I got shacked up with another guy, and this person, begged me to quit drinking, and I just couldn't do that. And the blacking out was, a common thing. So what happened when I was, with that person, that guy, Chris got cancer. And then, so Alex's dad passed away about a year after getting that. And that was really devastating because, because I wasn't the one that was able to be there with him, right? So I was so devastated, and I was heartbroken, and my son, and then the mental health really got kind of bad, and man, I drank all my worries away on, blaming me and blaming everything and everybody, and I especially blamed God. I pushed God away, and, by the way, I grew up going to church here and there. I was basically raised Catholic. My dad was Baptist. I, tried to have some sort of religious or experiences, but really didn't get it. So there were a few things that were blocking me in the God department. My mom and I lived in Bosnia for about a year in 1998 after the war, and so I had a big issue with the religions fighting and seeing all those blown up buildings and stuff like that. Again, my mom was in the military, so I had the opportunity to go out there, and I was just 12 years old, but I still remember it, and it really shaped me and changed me. But, so this whole thing, what I'm trying to paint a picture about is, my will, my old ideas, my, self-pity, everything blocked me from the truth, which was that I was an alcoholic, and I drank like one. I was violent when I drank at times, and I just drank a lot. I could drink a lot, guys, and it just, wouldn't work until I blacked out, and then I was in the hospital. That happened 4 times. I went into the hospital, and I never went to jail. They always just let me go. And I didn't know anything about AA. At the last time, and again, I've done geographical cures too. I went to Charlotte. And this is kind of wrapping up this end part of my run on alcohol before I get into what happened. So, Chris's death and everything led me to meeting Adam. Well, not meeting Adam. I knew Adam. He was Chris's best friend. He was the drummer of the band. Chris was the lead singer and the guitar player. So that's where my mind was. And alcohol. But that was really heartbreaking. And I ended up getting into a relationship with Adam, and we had a child when I was 25. So I was 25, and then, alcoholism, oh my God, I can't have a relationship with anybody. It lasts like a month, and then I'm like, just like catfighting. And I just have no control over my emotions. I'm extremely self-centered, and I have these kids, and I remember being in the bathtub one time, like throwing up, and my neighbor came across the street to check on me, and she was like, "This is not how mothers act." So these things, I knew, I was like, how do I get help? What do I do? So I said, well, I'm moving to Charlotte. I'm going to leave Adam, move to Charlotte, and get a job. So I moved to Charlotte and hit a really big bottom. At this point, I was hiding bottles in the drawer, and, I was like drinking right when I woke up to take Alex to school. I was that drunk mom, and CPS wasn't in and out of my life. They were in my life when I was right before I moved to Charlotte, and then I moved to Charlotte to get them off my back. So this survival mode and everything was just really crazy, and I just could not stop drinking, and I would talk to my mom, and I would always say things like, so I got wine, and Mom's like, Vanessa, you can't drink. You got to stop drinking. One time I was drunk. They came out to see me in Charlotte, and I was pumping gas. I was driving. I was pumping gas, and I drove off with the pump in the car. Y'all done that?
Okay.
That's like really sad.
No.
Oh my gosh. So I've done a lot of embarrassing things. It was like I had like a demon inside of me, It was just, alcohol is so cunning, baffling, and powerful. Man, it sure was. And I felt so lost. And that was when I wanted to get to oblivion, because I felt so lost. And then that drink, that was my solution. And everybody was just like going away from me, and I was just going into this dark hole. And so what happened was life changed at my darkest moment, which was when I could not stay in Charlotte because I had hit a bottom there, and I got on my knees in the bathroom, this guy I shacked up with, and I shut the door because we had gotten in a fight, and I remember I was on my knees. I remember it was like this old downtown Charlotte, tiny little apartment, and it was like just old apartment, and I got on my knees. I remember the tile, this black and white little square tile, and I was like, if there is a God, what do I do? Just help me. And so I asked for help, to a God that I didn't believe in at that time. And a voice came in and said, go back to your family and surrender and fess up. They will help you. They love you, And that's what I did. I called Adam and was like, I've screwed up again. Can you come get me? I'm moving. This was a bad idea. And they were like, oh, fine. And I sat in the very back. They didn't even want to have anything to do with me. And they brought me back, and they dropped me off at my dad's front door. And so I walked up to my dad's house, and I was like, oh my God. Knocked on the door. It's been 7 years since I talked to them. Knocked on the door, and Benjamin, my brother, he's my half-brother. I'm 11 years older than him and 13 years older than my half-sister, Liz. He was like, well, Vanessa, good to see you. He's great. and I was like, hey, hi. And Misty, my stepmom, looked back, and she was like, Vanessa, oh my gosh, come in. And she welcomed me in, and my dad was just getting back from the beach house, and they have a beach house, and that was so hard to do. I was so scared of my family, and I drank over that. So, I had all this stuff, I had no idea how I was going to get out of it. And I was like, well, this is my way out, and I asked them, and they did. They helped me. We reunited a little bit, and I was still so lost inside. But I was trying, and I was faced it. I went there, and they helped me get a place, and so I didn't drink. But then I started drinking at night, just one beer, and it was like Christmas, so I would like hang the lights and have a drink, and then I got a bottle of whiskey, and kept it in the freezer, and then I would just have a little, and then I would have a whole lot more, because that's how I drink. When I take a drink or a substance or food, I have a lot of it, because I'm constantly trying to fill this void that, that's really like what I use, spirituality and God. So today, and, or try to at least, so anyway, like what happened was I started drinking a little and then went to blacking out again, in oblivion. And I was trying to get a job, and it was at this hospice house in Smithfield, and they were like, we're gonna hire you. And I quit smoking pot, so I was able to pass the 30 days, pass the urinalysis test or whatever, and I passed it. And I was like, they said, we're going to hire you. I was going to be like a nursing assistant there. And I was so excited. My parents would be proud of me and everything. But they ended up, so I think I had a bottle of wine because I was celebrating. And sure enough, I think it was like the next day. It was the day after my Andrew's birthday. He was turned 3 or 2.5 or 3, 2.5. He turned 2.5. We're celebrating. And I got a call from that hospice house, and they said, hey, Vanessa, we are not extending the offer to you. We called your references. Jeez. And they said you were terrible. They were like, we're sorry. Good luck. So I hung up the phone, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to tell my dad? How am I going to pay these bills? And I needed a drink. That's it. And I'll never forget it. And I left my son at home. He's like 7. And I walked. Thank goodness I walked, because driving would have been bad. Because I lived right next to this bar in Garner it used to be called Judd's. It's called like Garner Cafe or Garner Restaurant or something like that. Aversboro Restaurant. I walked to that bar, and I was like, I'm just going to have one drink. I need to work this out. This dilemma. And because how am I going to lie? How am I going to make everybody know that I'm okay? Because I am not okay. And I had my one drink was a beer and a shot. And then I started talking to this guy who liked to play guitar. Oh my God, it was off to the races. I had way more than one drink. And I remember it. Well, I don't remember much more after that because I went to blackout. But I remember that I was going to have one drink. So I went into a blackout. Apparently we went to his house and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I don't know what happened after that, except I was found on the side of the road by the police. Okay? Garner's finest. And I used to be like, those cops ruined my life, they saved my life, okay? So anyway, they picked me up and took me to the hospital, but there was more to it than that, because when I came to, I had a sitter, I was strapped down, which I had been before, but I had never heard these words come out of the cop's mouth, man, we're taking you in. We're taking you in. So, I was like, don't I just leave? I usually just leave. No, it gets worse. Everything gets worse in this addiction. So, I'm 26 at this point, and it was getting pretty bad. Mind you, don't forget, I left my son at home. So I had to go to jail. My son's at home. So that was the big dark moment. I was my heart stopped. Like, I was like, that's it. I need help. You know, leaving that poor child at home, the abuse, the abandonment, the selfish self-centeredness, you know, constantly selfish, self-centered, just a lot of pain and shame and all this stuff. My dad actually ended up picking me up. He left me in there a few extra days, but everything ended up being okay. My dad picked me up and he's like, "Did you have a bad night?" And I was like, I said, "I'm an alcoholic." I didn't say I think I am. I remember I said I am. And he said, "You think?" And he gave me his big book. And that was, he said, "I need you to read this. Read this book." So he wasn't like, he didn't like lecture or preach or anything. He said, "I need you to read this book." But he did say, "Yeah, you are like me. you know, you can't just have a few drinks or, you know, things like that." So, and I read that book again. I was like, oh, okay, here's a solution. You know, I was really tired. And he took me to 90 meetings in 90 days, and we did not miss one meeting. My father, he's such a great man. He has really, you know, done well for himself. I really admire him, and I'm so grateful for him, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here, you know, or maybe I would, but it would be like, I don't know. So anyway, so I got introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I would like to say that I've been sober since 2013, but I haven't been. It was really a struggle. I had to deal with the criminal activity that I had done, and all the consequences, and I did, and I stayed sober a little while, and I heard everything, and I was getting it, and I was reading everything. I read all the books, and somebody came out to me and said, "Hey, you want to smoke this?" And I was like, "Yes." "Oh, I can handle it. It's just me and God that will know this. We'll still get sober." You know, and so I did not stay sober. You know, I was not honest, and without that honesty to myself and to another human being, I was not able to get sober. I can't really explain that. It's just like, it just is. It just is. That's just the way it works. And it says that in the you know, in our reading of how it works on page 58. So I finally surrendered in 2016, and I was in and out of AA. When I surrendered in 2016, this time, again, I saw everybody growing. I saw them really staying sober and happy in their life, just something, their freedom. Their way, like, their heart grew. They were different. I saw it and I wanted it, and I almost burned down Adam's kitchen. So I was like, so 2016, July 11th, I was drunk that day, and I went to a Monday night meeting, and picked up my last white chip, you know, and so I, you know, at that time, I was not sure I could stay sober. I was not sure that that I really trusted myself, and that I could do the steps. I just didn't feel very good, but and I had a lot of excuses, and I just didn't see where I was, sick and stuff. But they say, to just surrender, go to meetings, work with a sponsor, and service work. I did all the things, and I had an honest desire to stop drinking, and I had an honest desire to be clean and sober. And it was just that I had to make that real decision. And with doing that, I had to sacrifice a lot of things in that first year, such as people, places, and things. I had to say goodbye to the guy I was seeing. I had to, and I mean that he had already went off to somebody else, and they're married now and doing great. And he helped me, but I was not able to stay sober. And when I'm not drinking, when I'm using and drinking, I lose. I lose at life. It doesn't work out. Nothing works out. And that's just the way it is. Nothing works out. But when I'm staying clean and sober, every day is a new day where I can, work the principles of this program. Gives me the opportunity to have a great life, I'm a mom, I got a new job, so I had to change people, places, and things. I got this chance in 2016, about 2 months in or a month in. My good friend Brooke recruited me to be a recruiter. So this was my chance, and having that job, it was so good because I, got the opportunity to wake up. Any job, honestly, any job is a good job. It's all about, for me, it's all about being honest with myself about I can't drink or use. So I was able to put a little bit of faith in God in my understanding and take it one day at a time. How can I be of service? I didn't think I could do this recruiting job. I never thought I could do much. I had very low self-esteem. They said, do esteemable things. Make it through the day without drinking and using. And I was able to do that. Wow. With the help of God and by the grace of God, I actually found a joy, this kind of joy in God and in the program. I can't explain it. And it's not easy, but it's simple. But it's so worth it. What I thought was fun and, stuff like that, I was wrong. I didn't know. I thought I knew, but I didn't. And this 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous has worked for countless people now. And, there's so much to look forward to in this program. Friendships, AA conventions, the history of AA, how it all unfolds. We get to pass it on. All of a sudden I have a desire to work with somebody, to pass it on, to help somebody out, talk to somebody and share. Getting outside of myself helps me to be free. And faith without works is dead. And so working the 12 steps has really helped me change my heart, and my the desire to drink has been lifted for me just for today. And I want to be honest with you guys. I almost feel like we're countless men and women who have recovered. My solution today is to use spiritual principles to solve my problems, and not have to take a drink. That is all I ever wanted. I have learned so much, and I'm still learning. I will say I hit a bottom in 2019. After working so hard at this new job and doing service work and becoming a mother and learning how to be in a relationship with my kids and with my family after working the steps, and even making some amends, half measures. Um, and and I did the fourth and fifth step, learned a lot about myself and the damage that I've really caused, learned some truths that were really hard to process, but I got back out into life. I was able to go to school. I got my associate's degree, and I was a part of a lot of things, like just Run Club, Phoenix CrossFit, all kinds of wonderful stuff. But I had stopped going to meetings while I was doing that stuff. Serving these committees and not going to meetings, that's not good. That doesn't compute. And I was just so busy. I was too busy for AA. AA meetings are my medicine, and I have forgotten that. So I hit a bottom in 2019, and I was sober, but I wasn't emotionally sober. I was pretending to look good on the outside, but on the inside, I was so lost. And so, once again, my anxiety was crept up. I was acting crazy, acting out, taking it out on my kids, things like that. I couldn't keep it real. I just was nervous all the time and felt really sick inside. And tried to figure it all out on my own. And so that did not work. And I basically continued to pray, and I was like, what do I do? And again, I was like, okay, well, get back to basics. So I prayed about that, and God of my understanding, God has led me all the way, has not dropped me. I didn't have to drink, I didn't have to use or anything. I got a new sponsor, and my prayer life is so important to me. Morning meditation, starting my day off right, and working these steps. It's like it's an inside job, and it's like also an outside job, doing all the things, but it helps me get outside of me. It's about what can I do to be a friend of a friend, or be a good mom, and stuff like that. But I also have to work on the inside. I also have to go to meetings. So anyway, I got a new sponsor and started working the steps in a really great way, going through the book word by word. And I got to another level. Like, I have a deeper meaning of my sobriety and the big book, and got a home group. I am, really excited again about being a part of and moving forward, in AA. AA gave me my life back. I owe my life to AA. That's the way I look at it. I don't know what would be. I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for this program. And I have a lot of faith in this program and the 12 steps in God today. And it is a joy. And I get to be a better version of me. I am grateful for this opportunity to share tonight, and grateful for the challenges. And thank you for this opportunity to share. Thank you.